Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the Yoruba Podcast. My name is Mubalaji Obadara. So today I want to talk about the way our fathers prepare for war in those days. A lot of times when we watch our Yoruba movies, you notice that what they call war is simply just a fight between some groups of people. War is entirely different. How do they even prepare for war to start with? Should a town or a city want to go to a war with another, one of the first things they do is to prepare food for the soldiers who will be going to war. And war is not for 1 day or 2 days. Some wars you cannot predict the time frame of a war. You can only predict when it will start. Some wars can last a month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, some 6 years, some 2 years. And of course, we still have the history of the longest civil, battle in the world. I mean the Kiriji War. It lasted for 16 years. What I mean is that the same tribe fighting against each other, the longest of such was the Kiriji War, or some people call it Ogun Ekiti Parapo or Ijesha Parapo against Ibadan. It lasted for 16 years, 16 good years. So one of the first things our fathers provide or cater for or look at when they want to prepare for war is the food for the soldiers, followed by the armors, the ammunitions. In the days before guns were being used, the machetes, the knives, the spear, the javelin, the arrows, the bows, crossbows and all of this, they prepare them in thousands. Even the kumo and pompo, big sticks and all of this, they prepare all of this. Then they now prepare the soldiers themselves, the soldiers that will be going to war. Then they look for allies. It is a foolish thing to go to war without any ally, meaning that countries or towns or cities that will also support you in that war. After that, they now draw the strategy for the war. When we are moving out of our town, let's say town A, how are we moving out? How many days will it take us to get to where we want to go and fight? How do we want to move all the food, the armors, the ammunitions, the soldiers, the drummers and all of this? Somebody will say drummer. Yes, our forefathers go to war with drummers because warlords have their personal drummers who drums for them to praise them, to inspire them, to motivate them, and also carry news. Because drummers in Yoruba land were our first set of pressmen. So they prepare the strategy of the movements. Then, if they now get to the war fronts, how do they go about setting up their camps? These are the things they plan before going to war. Then, sometimes they might have strategized how to fight the war from home. And then sometimes they do that while going. And sometimes they do that when they are setting up their camp or even after they have set up the camp. Now, the camp is a very, very strategic and important aspect of warfare. What do they keep in the camps? That is, what Yoruba call camp is what we call ago. So when you hear any town or any city with the name ago behind it, it means that place was not meant to be a permanent abode. It was just a camp, just for a period of time. For instance, Agodoyo, Agowoye, Ago, and all of this, you will find names like that. Ago practically means a camp. So when they are setting up the camp, what will be in the camp? Their food, of course, their arms and ammunitions, of course. Then they set up their medical stand, or what we call medics. So that is where they take care of people who are injured, people who are too weak, or anybody who is sick. They also set up a place where they can keep corpses of some important people, because when a warlord dies in the war front, you don't allow the enemy to take the body away. It's another form of defeat. So they sometimes preserve the bodies of warlords, important soldiers during the war in the camp. An example is that of Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Latosha during the Kiriji War. He joined the war, and then some things happened, internal wranglings between the Ibadan, within the Ibadan army, and then he poisoned himself. So they preserved his body for 8 years. The war ended in 1893. So it means Ààrẹ Latosha died in 1885. So these are some of the things that makes the camp very, very important. So the camp is always very guarded, and then that's where they always have their reserve soldiers. If the enemy takes the camp, you are as good as the battle is gone for you. Apart from that, there's what is called strategy too at the war front. This strategy is military strategy. The strategy is military strategy. So I may not be able to explain all of that, but I just want to give a brief of how our fathers prepared for war. So what you watch in most of our movies is just a caricature of what was happening. Nobody goes to the war front and starts saying, Tabawi football. Nobody does that. Where guns are flying, bullets are eating people and they are dying, where arrows are coming from every angle, is that where you start be saying, nobody does that. Does that mean that our fathers don't use all these charms and all of this? They do. However, not at the war front. Many of them prepare for this before even leaving home. And then they have people who are in charge of this in their camp. But they don't go to the war front and start doing all of this. So what you watch in our movies is not how our fathers fight war. You need to know that. Then all these, somebody just turned to cat, or somebody just turned to a bird or lion. It doesn't happen. People fight. Real battle. There's nothing like somebody now opened one calabash. That was how people now came out from the calabash and started fighting. It doesn't work that way. That's not the way war works. All the charms you have, like our people from Ibadan now, there's a place in Ibadan called Oranyan. That's our own dialect of Oromia. That place is where they go to worship, to do propitiations, sacrifices for the Opa Oromia staff before Ibadan goes to any war. So they will have done that at home. Part of what they use, of course, they use human body. Part of what they use for the sacrifices before even going to war. And then in their camps, and they will have people, Awologun, who are in charge of Agbo and all of these, some for healing, some for casting spell on the enemies and all of this. But the actual war is fights, sword to sword, spear to spear, arrows to arrows, sticks, kuma, pompo to kuma. Just like we will say these days, aura for aura. You understand? So that's the way they fight war. Sometimes hand-to-hand combat. And then when guns came, guns to guns, bullets to bullets. So please, I need you to note that our fathers prepare for war. And they don't just fight, they don't just go to the war front to start chanting incantations at the fighting center. No. What they do is pure, brutal war where lives are lost, souls perish, people get lifetime injuries. No time for incantations. Then again, when you watch most of our movies, you notice that the number of people fighting, sometimes when they claim that they are at war front, all the number of people you see them may not be more than 200. What kind of war is that? What kind of war do they want to be fighting with 200 people? Some warlords, some captains, some commanders, their personal bodyguard can be up to like 400. Just let's assume Captain A, Captain B, Captain C, Captain D. Captain A alone has personal bodyguard. I'm not saying all his army. I mean his own personal bodyguard is around 400. Seriki Iyapo, that's Omobalogun Ibikunle. By the time his father died, and then he inherited his father's army with his own army, his army was numbering close to 50,000, his own personal army. And if Ibadan is going to war, they can go with like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 captains. Just add the numbers up. So when they go to war, we are talking about thousands of people. Should I even tell you? During wars, they go into farming. In their camp, Wani farm, Oko, where they plant maize, cassava, yam, and all of this. They even operate marketing markets at the war front. That's what they called Oja. That's why they can say Oja Jewon. They have markets at the war fronts. They have farming system at the war fronts. So when we are talking about war, we are not just talking about some groups of people fighting. We are talking about thousands of people involved in battle. So disregard whatever you are watching in our movies where you just see some 20 people here, 20 people there, and then they claim they are fighting war. How? Who does that? Okay, no, just look at it this way. We claim that this war lasted for 6 months. A particular war lasted for 6 months, and you are telling me only 40 people were fighting for 6 months? How would they even go about it? Wouldn't they be tired? Even if they are killing each other, how many days will it take to kill 40 people all together that they will now spend 6 months fighting war? So it is not that way. And lastly, before I go today, I just want you to know that the way things were those days are not the way it is now. War is something serious. It's not just about who wins at the battlefield. It is politics, treachery, games. It is diplomacy. It is show of power. It is show of military might. Because when you win, you have control. You either take charge of the town, the land of the people you have just battled against, or they can start paying you tribute, or you can even sack the town, like burn down everything, take their wealth away, and then sell their people as slaves. So most times, war is a do or die affair. However, the Yorubas, when they fight wars in those days, at the end of the day, they come to a round table. Even after the war have been won or lost, they come to a round table, and then there will be some sort of agreement. But the town or the city that wins the war holds the power in the negotiation, on the negotiation table. Thank you for joining me today. See you next time. This is the Yoruba Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on X. And if you are a former person, of course, you can find us on LinkedIn. And if you prefer the audio only, you can always find us on Spotify and AudioMac. Thank you. Bye.